Insurance creates the most millionaires of any specific industry in the United States of America. So, if that's the case, why do 87% of insurance agents quit in their first year? I'm here to let you guys know why that's the case. Again, for those of you guys that do not know, or maybe you're clicking on here for the first time, my name is Nku Tafara. I help insurance agencies scale using an AI platform. And as far as that's concerned, I'm here to pretty much talk to you guys about my last 5 years in the insurance industry and just based off my personal experience, what I saw and why they do fail. I'm going to break this down into three parts so that way it's easier for you guys to follow along. With number one, they try to sell everybody. So you guys all know when you jump into insurance and you are promoted and you're told, hey, you can make $100,000 in this job. You're just jumping on board at anybody that's, looking for dental, vision, whether they're looking for a supplemental plan, full coverage, whether they can't afford it. You're just trying to get anybody that's, listening to you to buy whatever life insurance, health insurance, Medicare plan that you have to offer. Now, because of that, there's no really specialized expertise that you have because of that, where you're not really differentiating a quality client versus someone that's maybe not as quality. And you guys, once you're after your 6 months, it's easy to distinguish the difference. However, it's difficult for you guys to be able to, in the beginning, understand who is a good client and who is not a good client. And if you're trying to sell every single person that's looking just because they said yes, or they're not hopping off the phone with you, you're going to have a very difficult time progressing in the insurance industry. Number two, this is my favorite probably of the three that we'll touch on today, is they focus on cold calling. So where in the office I was and how I was brought up in the insurance industry, we had to make a minimum of 400 calls a day. Sometimes it was even 500. Now, here was the premise that a lot of times they would tell us: you call 400 or 500 people. Realistically, let's say you call 400, 275 of them will not pick up the phone. So what's that? 125 that's left. Of those 125, 80 of them will not qualify. They're either unhealthy, where underwriting won't push them through, or they're broke. They can't afford the price of what you're looking to offer them. So that leaves you with 45. Your job is to close one or two out of those 45 on a consistent basis. And again, this is a rough model because there'd be days where I would call 400 or 500 people and nobody would pick up the phone. And, everyone would tell you to, fuck off, or, I don't want to look. But the traditional model was that you come in, you start off the phones, you build the experience. And while I do believe that a lot of your skill will be created on the phones, I think there's a lot, in 2025, there's an easier way to do it than sitting on the phone all day and making cold calls, strung out on coffee and energy drinks, hoping someone picks up the phone. What I usually would advise in that sense is that you come on board and there is a systemized approach to what you're doing. So whether you're sending out text messages, emails, whether you're working on your personal brand, the overall goal is not to teach you how to cold call leads, because then eventually you're not going to be able to progress into something that's beyond just cold calling leads. And that's the biggest reason why people and agents leave, is because they're tired of, being year one, year two, year three in the game, and they're sitting there making cold calls to set appointments, to have half of them ghost, to then potentially close one who's probably not even the best client, when you can operate off of a referral component, when you can operate with partnerships, when you can do an email newsletter, when you can have different ways of generating business to come to you. And in addition to that, blast out leads where you're not having to sit there and make hundreds and hundreds of calls on a consistent basis. And then the last one is they copy veteran agents. So this in my office was, prior to me getting into a leadership role, was very prominent, because a lot of times the veteran agents that have been there kind of fit the archetype that I just mentioned, where they're still making cold calls. They haven't adapted. They haven't really put in a strong work ethic towards it. So they're just kind of up and down. I mean, their income, some months are good, some months are not good, but they're nowhere near a six-figure income. And the reason for it is everybody but themselves. And a lot of their techniques they're doing are, outdated. They have no real social media presence. They don't make videos. They don't make LinkedIn posts. They don't make Twitter posts. They're not in Facebook groups. A lot of what they're doing is the same way that they started, is the same thing 2, 3, 4, 5 years, down the road. Albeit a new agent comes in, and whether it's online via Zoom meetings or whether it's texting or whether you're sitting next to him in a cubicle, now that agent is pretty much being, curious enough to ask the veteran agents questions, and they're giving them the, let's just say, not optimistic perspective of how the insurance industry works. And something like this can be very damaging because it distorts the minds of the insurance agents and what's really possible. Now, you guys have heard the saying, everyone said it, you are the 5 people you surround yourself with. If you're surrounded by a bunch of lazy veteran agents that have not amassed $100,000 in a year, then you are sitting there and you're eager enough to try and learn, and you're trying to learn from them. Unfortunately, you're going to be the 6th person that is going to be a lazy veteran agent. Why do you need to work? Why do you need to dial? And the agents that are typically doing just one of these things succeed otherwise, where they're, I'm going to operate off referral components. I'm going to create content that educates people. I'm going to network. You're going to go to networking events and prospect where the potential clients could be. You're going to focus on building relationships where, you partner with a life insurance guy if you're a health insurance agent. You partner with a health insurance agent if you're a life insurance guy. You pass business through each other, right? And that's just stuff that if you're treating it like it is your own business, whether or not there's an upline to you, you're going to build income a lot quicker, a lot faster, and a lot of the clients you sign will be of higher quality, which will then send you more referrals as well. Because at the end of the day, the agents are trying to close deals before they really understand what it is that they're doing, and that's why they fail. They're not treating it as a business. You have to focus on becoming an expert in your field first, and the sales will follow. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys are interested in videos like this, please click the link down below and check out my website for more. And until next time, guys, I'll see you guys very soon.